Most people are terrified of walking alone, so they stay connected to distractions, weak environments, and people who keep them small. They would rather feel accepted than become powerful. But real transformation begins the moment you stop needing constant validation and start building yourself in silence. That lonely season changes you. It sharpens your focus, hardens your mind, and forces you to face who you really are without noise to hide behind. Stoicism teaches that strength is forged in solitude, not in crowds, because when you spend enough time mastering yourself instead of chasing attention, your energy changes completely. You stop trying to impress people and become someone they can't ignore, even in silence. And most people will never reach that level, not because they lack talent, not because life was harder on them, but because the moment discomfort showed up at their door, they opened it and let distraction walk right in. They picked up the phone. They called someone who didn't deserve their time. They went back to the same rooms, the same conversations, the same version of themselves, just to avoid sitting alone with the weight of becoming something greater. You know exactly what that feels like. That pull, that almost magnetic force dragging you back to familiar people, familiar patterns, familiar pain, just because it's known. Just because unknown feels like dying. But here's what psychology confirms and what most people refuse to accept. The human mind will always choose familiar suffering over unfamiliar growth. Always. Your brain is literally wired to return to what it knows, even when what it knows is slowly destroying you. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still wrote to himself every single night, not to be seen, not to be admired, but to hold himself accountable in private. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That wasn't philosophy for him. That was survival. That was a man choosing the discipline of solitude over the seduction of distraction at the highest level of power imaginable. So what does that say about you? About this season you're in right now? The quiet, the distance, the feeling that the world moved on while you stood still. It's not punishment, it's preparation. The most dangerous version of you is being assembled right now in the dark, in the hours nobody sees, in the pain nobody claps for, in the growth nobody celebrates until it's impossible to deny. This is not a motivational video. This is a psychological reckoning. 5 truths that will strip away every excuse, every fear, every weak reason you've been holding on to, and leave you with one undeniable reality, that the version of you walking alone right now is not lost. It is being sharpened into something so precise, so powerful, so completely different from who you were, that when you finally arrive, the world won't just notice you. It will feel you before you even walk in the room. Drop in the comments, "I walk alone." Now let's begin. Point 1. Solitude doesn't break you. It reveals exactly what you're made of. There is something that happens to a person when all the noise disappears, when the people leave, when the social calendar empties, when Friday night becomes just another quiet room with you and your own thoughts. Most people panic in that moment. They interpret silence as failure. They read loneliness as a signal that something is wrong with them, that they are too much or not enough, or somehow broken in a way others can detect. But the ones who become impossible to ignore, they sat in that exact same silence, and instead of running from it, they got curious about it. Because silence doesn't lie to you. Every distraction you've ever had served one purpose: to keep you from meeting yourself fully. The noise, the people, the constant movement, all of it was a buffer between you and the raw truth of who you actually are, without applause, without an audience, without anyone telling you that you matter. And the moment that buffer disappears, you come face to face with something most people spend their entire lives avoiding: themselves. Epictetus, a man born into slavery who became one of history's greatest philosophers, never had the luxury of distraction. He had nothing but his mind and his choices, and from that he built an entire philosophy that powerful men studied for centuries. He said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." Not because life was fair to him, but because he understood that what happens inside you will always matter more than what happens to you. That is the psychological shift that separates people who stay stuck from people who become magnetic. Stuck people keep asking why this happened to them. Magnetic people start asking what this season is building in them. Same situation, completely different internal architecture. So, when you're sitting in that room alone and the silence feels unbearable, understand that you are not being abandoned by life. You are being cleared. Everything that was filling the space where your power should live is being removed. The weak connections, the hollow conversations, the version of you that needed others to feel whole. What remains after that clearing is not emptiness. What remains is the foundation. Point 2. The people who left were never meant to watch your elevation. There is a specific kind of pain that nobody prepares you for. It is not the pain of losing an enemy. It is the pain of watching someone you genuinely loved, trusted, and opened yourself up to quietly choose distance. No dramatic ending, no final conversation, just a slow fade. Messages getting shorter, energy getting colder, until one day you realize the person who once knew everything about you now treats you like a stranger they vaguely remember. And the worst part? You replay it, over and over, searching for the moment you went wrong, wondering what you could have said differently, carrying the weight of their absence like it was your fault to begin with. Stop, right there. Some people are not built to witness your transformation, not because they are evil, not because they never cared, but because the version of you that is emerging now is fundamentally incompatible with the version of you they were comfortable with. People get attached to who you were. They built their image of you around your limitations, your availability, your need for them. And the moment you start outgrowing that, the moment you stop being easy to reach, easy to influence, easy to keep small, they feel it, even if they can't name it. Your growth threatens the agreement they made with the old you. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And when you begin doing exactly that, accepting yourself, building yourself, refusing to shrink yourself, the people who needed you small will create distance, not consciously always, but energetically, inevitably, absolutely. This is not betrayal. This is selection. Life is constantly curating your circle based on who you are becoming, not who you were. The people who left were not taken from you. They were removed from a future they were never equipped to be part of. Their departure created space, physical space, emotional space, mental space, that something far more aligned is waiting to fill. You cannot carry dead weight into a new life. You cannot build something extraordinary while surrounded by people who are comfortable with ordinary. Their leaving was not the end of your story. It was the editing process. And the version of your life that remains after that editing, that is the one worth watching. Point 3. Desperation is visible and silence makes you untouchable. People can smell need, not literally, but psychologically, energetically in ways that bypass conscious thought entirely. Human beings detect desperation the same way animals detect fear. It changes your posture, it changes your tone, it changes the way you enter a room, the way you speak, the way you respond when someone doesn't give you the attention you were hoping for. Desperation leaks out of people, no matter how carefully they try to contain it. And here is the brutal psychological reality. The more you need something from people, the less likely they are to give it to you. Attention, respect, love, opportunity. The harder you chase, the faster it moves away from you. Not because the universe is cruel, but because needy energy is repelling energy. It signals to every person in your environment that you have not yet found what you are looking for inside yourself, so you are hunting for it in them, and nobody wants to be someone else's emotional rescue mission. This is exactly why solitude is not just healing. It is strategy. When you spend time alone, genuinely alone, not lonely but sovereign, something in your entire energy system recalibrates. You stop performing. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head before they happen. You stop monitoring how people respond to you like your worth depends on their reaction. You become settled in yourself in a way that is immediately, unmistakably felt by everyone around you. Seneca wrote, "Retire into yourself as much as possible, not as isolation, as refinement, as the deliberate act of becoming so full within yourself that you no longer leak desperation into your interactions, your relationships, your ambitions." The people who are impossible to ignore are not the loudest people in the room. They are not the most aggressive or the most social or the most polished. They are the ones who carry a stillness so complete, a certainty so unshakable that your eyes find them before your mind even registers why. That stillness is not natural talent. It is earned through months, sometimes years of walking alone and learning that your own company is not a consolation prize. It is the foundation of every powerful presence that has ever existed. Go build yours. Point 4. Mastering yourself. In private is what makes you magnetic in public. Everyone wants the moment where people finally see them differently, where they walk into a room and something shifts, where opportunities start finding them instead of the other way around, where the same people who overlooked them suddenly cannot stop paying attention. Everyone wants that moment, but almost nobody is willing to do what creates it. Because that moment is not built in public. It is not built through posting more, speaking louder, or engineering the perfect version of yourself for an audience. It is built in the hours that nobody sees, the 5 a.m. discipline, the decision to read instead of scroll, the commitment to your craft on the days when nothing feels rewarding and nobody is watching, and quitting would be so much easier than continuing. That is where magnetic people are made, in private, in the unglamorous, unremarkable, completely invisible process of becoming someone who has genuinely mastered something about themselves that most people never will. Psychology calls it intrinsic motivation, doing the work because the work itself is the reward, not because of external recognition. And the people who operate from intrinsic motivation carry something different in their energy. They are not performing for approval because they stopped needing it somewhere along the way. They are not anxious about outcomes because the process itself already gave them what they came for. They walk differently. They speak differently. They make decisions from a completely different internal place than people who are still chasing validation from the outside world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, not when the right people are watching, right now, in private, in the silence, in the season that feels like nothing is happening when actually everything is happening. Your discipline in private is accumulating like compound interest. Every morning you choose growth over comfort. Every night you choose reflection over distraction. Every moment you choose mastery over mediocrity. It is all building something inside you that eventually becomes impossible to contain. And when it finally spills out into the world, into your work, your presence, your relationships, your results, people will call it charisma. They will call it confidence. They will call it talent or luck or timing. You will know exactly what it is. It is the sum of every private moment they never saw. Point 5. Your presence becomes dangerous when you no longer need to prove anything. There is a specific moment in a person's evolution that is almost impossible to fake and absolutely impossible to ignore. It is the moment they stop needing to convince anyone of their worth. Not because they gave up, not because they stopped caring about their life and their purpose, but because somewhere in the long walk alone, in the discipline, in the silence, in the rebuilding, they arrived at a place inside themselves so solid, so completely their own, that external opinions simply lost their power. That is not arrogance. Arrogance is loud because it is insecure. What we are describing is something completely different. It is a quiet, immovable certainty. The kind that does not require an audience. The kind that does not get louder when challenged or smaller when ignored. The kind that simply exists, steady, sovereign, and felt by everyone in proximity to it. And people are drawn to it in ways they cannot fully explain. Human psychology is deeply wired to follow certainty. From the earliest stages of human development, we gravitate toward people who seem to know who they are, where they're going, and why. Not because of their status or their appearance or their words, but because their energy communicates something our nervous system registers as safe, powerful, and worth following. When you stop needing to prove yourself, you stop sending out the frantic, scattered energy of someone looking for approval. And the absence of that need creates a presence so grounded, so complete, that people feel it before they understand it. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, built an entire school of thought around one central truth: that the only thing worth pursuing is the perfection of your own character, not wealth, not fame, not the admiration of others. Character. Because a person of genuine character needs nothing from the world to feel whole. And that wholeness is the most magnetic force a human being can carry. This is what the walk alone was always building toward. Not isolation, not cold detachment from the world, but the complete internal freedom that comes from knowing deeply, unshakably, without needing anyone to confirm it, exactly who you are and what you're made of. When you reach that place, something extraordinary happens. You stop arriving places hoping to be accepted. You start arriving and changing the entire energy of the room just by being completely, unapologetically yourself. People feel your history in the way you carry yourself. They feel the discipline in your stillness. They feel the solitude in your eyes, not as emptiness, but as depth. And depth, in a world full of shallow noise, is the rarest and most powerful thing a human being can possess. Walk alone long enough, and you will not need to demand attention. Your presence will command it. So here is where we land. After everything, after the silence, after the people who left, after the nights that felt endless and the growth that felt invisible, here is the single truth that ties all of it together. The walk alone was never the punishment. It was the process. Every person you have ever looked at and thought, there is something different about them. Something I cannot quite name, but I feel it. Something that makes them impossible to dismiss. Every single one of those people paid a price for that presence. They walked a road that was quiet and uncomfortable and socially invisible. They chose becoming over-belonging at a moment when belonging felt like everything. They stayed in the room with themselves when every instinct screamed to run back to distraction, to noise, to the comfort of being understood by people who never truly challenged them. And they came out of that season unrecognizable, not to others first, but to themselves. That is where you are headed. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not walking alone because you failed at connection. You are walking alone because you are being prepared for a level of life that requires a version of you that has not been fully built yet. Keep going. Not because it will be easy, not because someone is watching and will reward you for it. Keep going, because somewhere, on the other side of this silence, is a version of you so completely realized, so deeply rooted, so powerfully present, that the world will have no choice but to feel you. You do not need to chase anyone. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to announce yourself. Just keep walking. The right people will find you when you become impossible to miss.